Let's give it a shot. Call the meeting to order. The Transport Development Authority. It is Tuesday, May 12th. Brenda, can you call roll?
Pokshavinsky.
Here.
Black. I know he's here. Daniel?
Hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Heck.
Here.
Grindy.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Johnson. Helms.
Yes.
Hey, you have a quorum.
Okay. Is that it? Is that all, Brenda?
Yep.
Okay. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes from March 17th meeting and second special meeting. Need a motion. Second.
Are we doing both sets at the same time?
So moved.
Yeah, can't we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's do them both. Motion by Blair.
Second.
Who said that? Second by who?
Daniel.
Daniel Black.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right. That's 3 bills and notifications. Review of accounts for 7/21, May 5th. Don't need any action on this, but if questions, now would be the time. Hearing none, last chance for questions on review of accounts. Okay, moving on to reports. Mr. Gordy, any?
No delinquencies at this time.
Okay, good to hear. Monthly financial report. Carla with us?
I didn't see her hop on.
No, I don't think it.
And
Okay,
we didn't get any.
we didn't get a email.
Yeah, we didn't get any monthly reports.
Okay.
Ron has asked everybody mute when you're not speaking.
All right. Ron with us? All right.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, next item. Director Gordy, you have a long list of things you've been working on over the past couple of months. If you want to maybe hit on the high.
The response to the coronavirus has dominated things over the last 6 weeks. Reaching out and talking with businesses, trying to sift through the information so I can share things that are relevant and important versus the things that are not. I mean, all of us right now are getting, I'm sure, tons of information in our inboxes about different things we can do or people who can help us during this time of the illness. So one of the things that I've been doing is acting as our liaison to the state. The state has a briefing. It was every day, went to 3 times a week, went to twice a week. Now it's once a week. And I'm trying to share that briefing with all of you so you know what's going on there. I have, based upon what we did at the last meeting, I have taken those criteria and been talking with businesses. And later in the agenda, you'll see that there are 5 businesses. But in my talks with businesses, I have found 3 businesses that are looking to borrow money to do capital improvements, which I think is really good news. But dealing with the virus-related issues and working with the businesses has dominated my time. We have some satisfactions that have come through. We have some subordinations that have come through. I got called this morning about the possibility of selling the entire large parcel that's lot 7 up in Water's Edge to one buyer who's looking to possibly just put in 3 homes on that instead of the 10 twin homes that we've talked about. It's zone PUD, but whatever he does, he's going to have to file an application also with Nancy to go through the process for planning review. So, but that's been the gist of the work over the past couple of months.
Okay, under your report says COVID-19. Is there anything specific you want to speak to on that?
I would just put that down because that's what has dominated the last 6 weeks.
Sure thing. Okay. Well, I noticed driving by the development up north, there's a couple of new homes that are in the ground and ready to start construction.
Yes, that's right.
All right. Okay.
And quite frankly, we have to thank Brenda and Nancy and the building review staff as well, because they've gotten them in and out quickly in order to allow the construction to occur. I've gotten calls from a couple of the residents up there who are very happy that there are new homes going up. So it's a good thing.
So you actually got calls from residents with good news.
Yes, they were maybe they're just home right now when they wouldn't normally be home, but they were very happy to see that there are new homes going up on the up there.
Yes, this is Ron. There's currently 3 going up, I believe. One's 2 by Premier Homes and 1 by Affinity, and there might be a second one they're breaking ground by Affinity right now as well. So there should be probably 4 moving forward at this moment.
Good.
And the lots that have been sold are on Troon, on 23rd, and that one won't be built on for a while, and on Pebble Beach.
Okay. There's no unfinished business. Number 6, new business. Starting with the COVID-19 emergency loan criteria and requests, the note we got from Mr. Gordy is that the loan committee met and are tasking us to review and clarify the criteria for these loans before we move on to the applications that we've got. So if you want to start out with that, Mr. Gordy.
The criteria are those that were contained in the minutes, in fact. And the question was whether we wanted to continue to use those criteria or whether we wanted to adjust them. And to that extent, maybe the members of the loan committee should speak up about the discussion.
I think, Josh, are you there? You should tell them your concerns on what this was all about.
Well, I think I'm worried about giving up a lot of this money right now. I guess I was kind of under the impression that we were going to help them exhaust all other avenues from the state, as it isn't the EDA's position to be the bank, for lack of better, and shorten up put it into a nutshell, basically.
I think the big concern on what started this whole rethinking this thing was the fact that there's a couple of these people that have applied for this $20,000, and I think their annual income is only like 60 something, if I'm not mistaken. Josh, is that the deal?
Yes.
So that's why we started thinking about this, and do we really want to? How we should handle that to get money in their hands to help them out, but yet not put them at a point where they're going to lock the door.
Okay. Anybody else Want to jump in here?
Well, this is Ron, and I'm not sure if what you're looking at. I did have a couple of conversations with a number of people and a couple of the council as well as Josh. And I think the biggest concern that I heard is that we have a number of people that are looking for these loans that they need to be treated the same. And I think that that's a fallacy in and of itself, based upon the fact that you've got somebody that's got $4 million worth of gross income and you got somebody with $64,000 worth of gross income. But we don't have any of the pay. We don't have like a profit and loss statement, because essentially I thought what we were going to be trying to do is help them with some, maybe it would be the fixed operating costs or that type of thing. And if you look at any of the other programs that are out there, they're really trying to get them through this short time frame. And everybody that's asked is asking for $20,000. And I think what needs to be considered is where they are in that position at this point. You know, just because this group said that they were going to cap it at $20,000 didn't necessarily mean that if you asked for it and you made a determination that you were going to get the entire $20,000.
Correct.
So that would be my biggest concern, just from the conversations that I've had and heard. And the fact that, and I know Paul had provided me with some information, but there really isn't any underlying documentation that I have seen regarding what their ongoing actual expenses were that are fixed, that they really need assistance to get through at this point in time. There's no payroll information. There's just kind of an overreaching, I need money. And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
As I looked at it, I really questioned some of them, how they were going to pay back that $20,000, because with the incomes that they were showing us, $20,000 is a huge impact. And I don't know where they're going to come up with that income to replenish our funds.
And that's pretty much what I was getting at during that meeting. That, okay, A, we don't want to burden them. B, economic development is not a bank, nor do we know how to operate. I looked at it as through a set of business eyes and what I would have to bring to a bank to get money to operate my place. I mean, it wouldn't fly. And I just don't want to get caught in a trick bag and over this money and have a bunch of citizens mad at us either.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but were we not still looking at using our same loan parameters with being eligible for up to 20,000, but also within a 30% guideline that we normally use on our loans? So I thought I was under the understanding that we would take into consideration if they were getting help from a bank, and we would also take into consideration money that they were going to get from the PPP and from the EIDL to consider for the 60% or the 60%, and then we would still do 30% of that. Is that wrong? Were we still not using our own loan parameters that we use for all loans, that we would still only do up to 30%, but we would still consider those funds that they got from PPP, EIDL, SBA, or whatever as a portion to go up to our 30%?
Paul, can you address that?
Yeah.
What I worked from was from the criteria that were approved in the minutes. Okay, and we didn't specifically say that, but that's very doable. The difficulty with that for some of the businesses, and you've seen with the revenues, is they have one employee or two employees. So for the EIDL, the idle loan, they're eligible for $1,000 per employee, so that creates a very small sum of money that they have available to them. For the PPP, that has been delayed for a lot of them coming through, so that they don't have that. We know what we have an idea of what they've applied for, but that has not always come through at this point. And for some of the other sources, most of them would be outside of the unemployment insurance. Most of them would, in fact, be under the pandemic unemployment assistance. And the state's still working on its backlog for that, so that they may or may not get some funds from that. And we won't know that for another couple of weeks.
See, and that's where this kind of come into play when we had this meeting last week on these loans, was the fact that, and Paul's right, he's going strictly off of what the criteria was told to him. And that's why we wanted to bring it back to the whole committee, because we feel that maybe when we set these criteria, we set them up, and that's why a lot of people applied, because we set it up very simple. I think it was like, in my view, it was like, okay, you call us up and say you want $20,000 and you get it. I mean, no questions asked type of thing and whatever. And that's where we kind of started questioning if we set this up correctly or not.
Well, I would suggest that it wasn't no questions asked. It was and I think Mr. Heck made the motion that these loans were specifically for people who had been involuntarily shut down. They were non-essential services or non-essential services, and that the other criteria is that they would provide a personal guarantee. So, and that's basically, and backing up to what our policies always are, and our historic policies with loans. The other thing that we talked about is that these are extraordinary times, and these are people that have been thrown out on, the revenue has been stopped through a government intervention. So it is exactly the same as just a traditional loan. It's a disaster, and it's something that I felt we had come to a consensus that we would do what we could within reason. These are small loans, and we didn't want to drain our resources and have a flood of people coming in. So we narrowed the scope, and we added the personal guarantee. So I have a hard time asking people to apply for loans, and then after they apply, then you change the criteria. There's a problem there with our credibility. So that's how I feel about it. We gave Mr. Gordy some guidelines. He followed them. People applied, and now you want to change the guidelines.
Well, and that was brought up during our meeting also, Puck, and like I said what I said back then, I got big shoulders, I'll take the blunt. I just don't want this to be a runaway train like it is right now. I'd rather err to the caution side than have another train wreck. So the CDC is changing their mind every day. That's life. I'll accept the blame on it. I'll take it, but I can't go through with these parameters after seeing everything, and it makes zero sense to me.
Did our discussion the last meeting tie us to doing that? We have to do the 20,000. I mean, can't we look at these loans and say, hey, if you've only got $60,000 in income, there really is no way you're going to be able to afford this loan. And we can still give them something, but not give them the 20. I mean, we have to figure out what that would be and how we would do that equitably.
And I agree with you, Diane, that was discussed too. And then even these ones that, like Ron pointed out, that may have that $4 million in equity, to me, or revenues, to me, they're doing it as a business move, which is a smart business move, but that isn't what this was set up for either. I don't think that is right either.
So how do we fix it? How do we go forward?
Good question.
Yes.
We've got 5 applicants here. Do we table it and then make them wait a month, or what do you want to do?
I think we need to think long and deep about this, and it really stinks to have loan committee meetings like this over a telephone versus in person where we can sit and hammer this out. Because I don't know about you, Paul, but it was really hard to hear everything going on, even with what was there, 4 of us on that call, I believe. It was really, really difficult. It's like being in a bar. One wanted to talk, so they talked louder than the next one.
My remembrance of our last meeting is we just wanted to find a way to get money in people's hands. And these are some of the same conversations I think we were having the last time but we never came up with a good answer as to how we get that in their hands and how we make sure we are being fair to everyone and that we're, protecting our money and protecting our interests, because if we don't get them back, we don't have anything else to support the rest of the community to help with those capital requests that Ron is finding, that Paul is finding out there. I mean, it's a really tough situation.
And that's kind of where I was at with that meeting. I think Dale was on board at the same time. It's like, wait a minute here, without bringing up past names and everything, we know what train wreck we've been dealing with, that I know I have been dealing with for whatever the last 5-6 years I've been on this board, and I refuse to go down that road again.
I understand that.
I think you're right, Josh. We can also learn from that horrible, 20-some years ago when we were doing the same kind of things, and look at some of the quick decisions that were made and some of the mistakes that we discovered after the fact. And I think everyone at that time was trying to do the best they could, and we're still trying to do that now.
That's a very, very good way to put it. And that's why I looked at it as a business standpoint and a city standpoint and a bank standpoint. I'm like, above my pay grade. Something's not right here. We got to back this truck up a minute. And I think I even said that to you, Paul, too, that, yeah, you did everything you were told to do. I'll take the blame.
I think that was the reason why we come back to the committee with it here too, as a whole, so that Ron would be there and maybe get a little advice from Ron, so we don't get in big trouble somehow here.
And then we still didn't really discuss how it's going to be. I know it was a big question, if I remember right, about being administrative. Who's going to take care of this? Brenda, we can't pile stuff on Brenda every day. Poor girl is going to go postal on me.
I think all the points that everybody's making is valid about making sure that we're protecting our interest in what we're doing and how we give the money away. I, for one, just want to point out that, even when you take a look at, there's a wide variety of differences of incomes for the businesses that have applied, from, like you guys have said, 60-some thousand all the way to a couple million or whatever. I think the one thing that we do need to keep in mind, that some of these businesses that have been completely shut down for 2 months or better, even if their annual income is 60-some thousand or 100,000, which we have one that is in that range too, being shut down for a few months with getting zero income, and then how long this process is still going to drag out, that you can be looking at a lot of these businesses that are going to be without minimum of 6 months worth of income. Once things start to open back up and people start getting back out and spending some money again, you're still going to see some long road repercussions for all businesses that, so now you say that, well, they only make 60,000 a year and we're going to give them 20, but they may have lost 6 months worth of income. So they may have lost 30 to 40,000.
I totally agree with you. That was all brought up during the meeting. But there again, are you willing to hang your back out there for everybody to chew us out because you kind of got the buggy in front of the horse?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that we do maybe need to make sure that this is the best process that we're doing, but I just wanted to throw it out there and make the point that to make sure people do understand that fact too, that, hey, if you're a business with 100,000 in revenue, you might lose 50,000 this year. If you're a business with 60,000 in revenue, you might lose 30,000 or more this year too. So in the grand scheme of things, even when you look at 20,000 is a certain percentage of what they make in a year. I think we need to be careful and take it into consideration because of the fact that a lot of these businesses are losing way more than that.
But at the end of it, us as an EDA, my opinion, we have to look at it as a business decision on our end too. And when you look at this or that parameter, when you're looking at some of this where loan would be 6%, well, if somebody's getting more than 10, 15% out of their net out of their business, I want in. I'm a partner. You ate it all. You ate half of your gross profit up on making a payment, and more payments are going to keep coming. We're not helping them. We're putting a Band-Aid over the scab, and we're going to peel that sucker right off. We got to figure out a different way and a better way to help, not make it worse.
Okay, Mr. Black, do you want to weigh in here?
Thank you. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
I was just going to say that, you know, looking at the loans and everything, I agree. I mean, this has got to be a business decision at the end of the day. You know, knowing that we have businesses out there that are looking for capital investment, I think is really good. But we shouldn't be looking to deplete our funds to take away from that. You know, reading through some of the stuff, I would like to see at least these types of loans being used to get them reopened. You know, the governor is looking at people to build plans. You have to put in, you know, the ability to social distance, the ability to, you know, have barriers potentially at, like, you know, point of sale. You know, those types of things are the things that I think really the EDA could help businesses get through. But I don't see that a lot of those projects that would be happening are going to cost $20,000. I think the operating costs and everything, I don't really see how. I think it's just going to be a Band-Aid. But I think that we could help some businesses invest in their business so that they can reopen for the future. Because this social distancing thing is not going to be a 3-month thing. It's going to be here for quite a while. And it is going to be an investment.
And then what's the governor going to do anyway? Flip a quarter, we don't know.
Right. And that's the other part too, is at this point, I don't see that they've exhausted all of the possible federal and state money that's out there at this point. You know, we may need this money later on to really bridge a gap after something starts to fail or there is no money left. You know, I think, like I said last time in the last meeting, I really start to think that this is probably a little bit too soon to probably be looking at some of this stuff in terms of helping with the operating costs. I'd much rather see these loans going towards capital investment in businesses to get things back open. So just my 2 cents, just my opinion on that.
Okay.
I'll mute my microphone now.
Well, I'm open for suggestions on.
Stumpy, do you think it's something you and I meet face to face with Mr. Gordy?
Well, I think it's, and as Mr. Gordy told us last week when we had our meeting, Josh, that these people, there's no doubt that these people are hurting and they need some kind of help, and they need it probably sooner than later. So that was the big concern about pushing this off even another week to talk about it today, was because of that reason. And those people, they probably need help now. And so that's why I don't know if we really have time to go wait. I don't think we want to wait another month at another EDA meeting and change this stuff all up. I guess that's kind of why. Ron, are you still on? Is there anything that we could be getting in trouble with here? I mean, we can we pick and choose?
Sorry to interrupt you, Dale, but don't we have one or two of them on the call right now that applied?
At least. Shit.
Well, why don't we have one of them pipe in and say here if we said okay today, yeah, we dare to go on a string right now. What would $5,000 do for you today?
And take turn on your name and what you're with. Jump in. Just go.
Okay, this is Penny with the River Cinema. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We have been shut down since March 17th, so we are doing extensive remodeling of our floors. We're trying to keep our staff working. We're also, we're making all the shields for the social distancing for the cashiers and stuff. So I'm not, we're also putting a lot of money into the business. And I think that was something you were talking about. It's like, so we're putting a lot in for construction as well as we're shut down. So we have no income, and it's an extensive amount of no income. Plus, we're also trying to keep our staff working because we have full-time people and part-time people, and we're trying to do everything we can. So I don't know. I'm just trying. I'm not quite sure how to explain it, but it is pretty hard when you have a substantial income. And it's not just that. We also gave our renters no rent for April and May and things like that. So it's like we are trying really hard to hang in there.
So when I'm looking at EITL, you applied for that. You got PPP and small business emergency loan. Correct?
Yeah, we were able to get the PPP loan on Thursday, and then we got $25,000 from the Minnesota deed.
Okay.
Okay, and then we have the $10,000 advance for our staff. I can tell you our weekly expenses are about $15,000 a week, and so we've already burned through $200,000 in cash in 7.5 weeks. So our savings is going down very, very fast. And a lot of that money that we had pegged was for construction of the new restaurant and things like that. And we're actually using our money for that to pay our bills.
Okay, so now let me ask you this. I think you agree with me that, they're saying till May 18th. Yeah, next Monday. And we still don't know what Governor Walz is going to say at that point in time. And that's where I'm saying, and I'm not saying we're denying all this stuff. It's just we got to figure out a better way to do it. But 20,000 in your instance is like a $20 bill to most people. And we still don't know what the governor is going to do on the 18th. So if we gave you, and I'm not picking on you, I'm just using examples here. So that bought another week, and he puts it out there for 3 more weeks that your movie theater or your restaurant can't open. That means nothing to you, right? That 20,000.
Well, it does mean something. It's a lot of money for, it covers expenses and things like that. I mean, it's like 20,000 is 20,000 for us. I mean, when you're cutting into your life savings to just stay afloat, I mean, because you have so much in utilities alone and everything. So we don't even have a new movie until July 17th. So even if he says you can open, I have no product. That's
where I was going next. It's like, that's what I'm saying. Everybody we all want to have our own business, and they say it's the American dream, and I've always said it's the American nightmare. I'd rather punch in and out and work for Mr. Gallstad.
Yeah, it's not easy, but like I said, we have a lot of staff depending on us. We have like 10 renters that are depending us. The local restaurants surrounding us are also depending on us to open because we drive traffic to this area. And so we might be able to open the middle of June if he says so, and we could run retro movies for a month, but we don't have any new product that will draw significant numbers at least till the middle of July. And then it's just one movie. And then the following week, there's one more. So, I mean, it's going to take a while. So anything we get is extremely helpful because it's like we are, burning through it really fast. And we're trying, but it's going fast.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's a perfect example of, what she's alluding to there is that even without having to be able to have a new movie till July, and then, I don't know, maybe you can touch on this too a little bit, Penny, but how many people do you project you can even have in your theaters, each theater, once you're able to open? Because you're a perfect example of that. It's going to be 6 months or longer before you're going to be able to even get somewhat back on track, maybe at a 50% rate. And that's where I allude to that, yeah, this 20,000 may seem like a lot to some businesses, and on the paper it may not seem like some to others, but I've heard it mentioned already here a couple times today is that we're just putting a Band-Aid on things for people, but that's what we need right now. We need short-term, quick cash to fix things as a Band-Aid right now. We're hoping this isn't long-term, and that's what people need is Band-Aid cash. Let's get through this and hopefully get them back on track.
So another question then for Mr. Gordy, when you look at this and everything that they applied for, what else is out there from the state of Minnesota for them to go after?
What's listed on here is the programs that are available, state and federal. I should point out that I've talked to about 60 businesses so far, and we have 5 applicants here, and I have 1 applicant since this list was put together. So we're getting about it. Remember, we didn't know how much demand there would be. So we're only getting about 10% response for these loans.
Okay. Is there any, do we have any other guests who have put in an application? I thought I saw someone else, or did they leave?
Stacy, are you still there?
I am still here. I'm, of course, one of the smaller businesses in the group of applications. I try to run the show all by myself. My husband helps out. We probably use income from here. Probably 30 to 40% of our net income from here goes home to help with our family needs. I did try applying for several of the different options that were out there, and the only one that I did succeed at right now was the PPP. The amount that I did get for the PPP is less than what I do take home out of here as a draw, probably on a monthly basis. And it is way less than I would be taking out right now, April, May, June. Those are usually 3 of my busier months. With the sports seasons in the spring that run into the summer, as well as different Shriner events. I do a lot of business for the Shriners. That type of income I won't recoup that again this year because of all the events that are canceled. They just, won't order any type of embroidered apparel or anything like that. We do have a business loan that we have to make a payment on. We just purchased this business back in 2016 from the previous owner. I can say business is very good, but when something like this happens, it's a big shock. There really aren't other options for us to bring in other revenue. So it has hit us hard. We're doing the best we can. I also applied for the unemployment, but I have not received anything on that as either. So,
regarding the pandemic unemployment, the state is working through its backlog, and they hope to have their backlog finished up by the end of this week. For anybody listening or watching, if you are looking for the pandemic unemployment assistance, get in touch with the state and follow up with the state. Okay?
Yeah, I've been on the phone with them 2 different times, sat on hold over 2 hours to try to get through to them, just to make sure, they have paperwork for me and that it is being looked at. And that's all they tell me is it's here. We can't tell you anything else. So it's just a waiting game.
The nice thing,
and again, I don't draw an actual paycheck from the business. So when you don't have like a W-2 or anything like that to show either, I think things are taking a little bit longer in them making the determination of what they're going to do.
That's absolutely true, because they have to determine the income so they can figure out what would be the equivalent unemployment insurance amount. And then the nice thing is you're going to have the $600 per week tacked on top of that, and it's retroactive. It's just that it's taking time to go through for a lot of people, particularly the small businesses. It's taking time to go through and do that. Well, let me ask you a different question because of some of the concerns I've heard from the members of the EDA. The amortization over 5 years for a $20,000 loan is somewhere in excess of $300 a month once you start making payments.
Yeah, right around $350.
Yeah.
I don't foresee that being a huge burden. I think it would really help get me back on my feet to get my business going again. Right now, if I don't get anything, I have no idea what I'm going to do to keep going.
And have you tried SBA through your local bank?
Yes, I tried all the different SBA options.
And they denied it and all that stuff.
Well, they just, right now they're looking at they just want you to go with those programs.
Well,
I'm not looking to, I'm just looking to supplement my income right now till I can get back on my feet. It's really hard just living on my husband's salary when you're used to taking $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 every month.
The SBA programs, the EIDL program and the PPP program, ran out of dollars and had to be funded with additional dollars. So it put people back, and they didn't always take people in the queue who were in the queue ahead of previously too. So it's a case of follow up all the time with all those programs. But
I had originally applied for the PPP when it first initially went out. My local bank had my application. They were going to process it through right away on that first deadline that came out. But then at the last minute, they changed that and they delayed the sole proprietor type businesses to an additional week. So then I had to wait some more. And then, like I said, I got a very small portion once I did make it through the second round. But nothing with EIDL.
On the things that I hear in the morning, there's a lot of questions about businesses whose owners, proprietors take a draw instead of taking a regular paycheck. And that has caused real issues at the state level for determining how much benefit anybody can actually receive. That has been a very, very difficult issue for the state.
Okay, well, thank you, Stacy. Anybody got a motion or a suggestion about how to proceed?
Well, from my perspective, I would like you to sit down and determine criteria so that each of the people who've applied and each people who may apply in the future will know what is the standard by which they're going to be evaluated.
I understanding that's a difficult situation. I think we all went into this knowing that people need immediate help. I think we've already heard it, and we do know that so to some of the businesses, maybe all of them, I really don't know, and anybody can feel free to speak up whenever, but I think that some of these businesses, this 20,000 could maybe be a difference of make it or break it, whether they have to close their doors or not. That's the last thing that we want. We know that we went into this with the reasoning to get money into people's hands so they aren't have to possibly be faced with those decisions. But I don't know how we make up different criteria now. You know, I know that we put the criteria in play for the businesses that were completely shut down. I don't think we can necessarily take, because one business makes more than another, whether that's going to be a determining factor for them or not. We've already heard from one applicant about how fast they're burning through their cash reserves that had been set aside for other businesses. Now they might not be able to open that business. That meant jobs in our community. If they can't open that other business that they were going to try open with that cash, we've lost the potential for more new jobs in the community. I, for one, would like to stick with what we have right now and go forward with it, with the applicants that we have. And, you know, we've got all of them that said what the recommendation was on the loans and to go forward with it. I think obviously if these people applied, hopefully they applied in good faith, knowing that we don't have unlimited cash available, like a bank or whatever, that our funds are limited, and we want to make sure we're using those limited funds for the people that really need it. But in that same token, we know that we don't want to burn through all our funds. We need funds for the future too.
For perspective, we have approximately, between our two revolving loan programs, approximately $1.4 to $1.5 million. And having talked to businesses and hearing their responses, I anticipate we may get as many as 10 to 12 total applicants.
So we're going to be looking at 10% of our total funds. I think when we look at that as that still leaves us lots of cash available for new businesses or businesses expanding. I, for one, would like to go ahead with what we have right now. I would hate to see that, you know what, we find out 2 or 3 months down the road that one of the businesses that applied closed their doors, and that 20,000 could have made a difference.
Is that a motion?
I will make that motion, yes, to proceed as the applicants have applied and what the recommendations on those loans were.
Okay.
What were the recommendations on the loans? Because we don't have any of that information. And then you've got individuals that have applied for 80,000, 22,000, exceeding the amount of money that was even done.
I'm talking about the recommendation that the loan committee made to approve.
Well, the loan committee did not make any recommendations.
No.
What I put in here is that it's for no more than 20,000. So there are 4 $20,000 loans and 1 $18,000 loan. One business went through and identified the expenses and came up with 18,000 for the amount. If they applied for 22, I reduced it to 20. If they applied for 80, I reduced it to 20. Because that was the criteria, that was one of the criteria that the EDA board had established.
Okay, I thought when it said on the paperwork that we got where it said the recommendation of approve of 20,000, I was assuming that came from our loan committee.
No, sir.
That was my recommendation based upon the criteria.
I will make that motion then to approve what the recommendation is on the 20,000 for each of them and the 18,000 for the one. I look at it that if Pulse has talked to most of these businesses and believes that we're going to have 10 to 12 apply, and that only accounts for 10% of our revolving loan funds, I still think economic development has plenty of money available for other stuff that's going to come in that is going to have to fall under our loan guidelines of meeting, the 30%, and is the most we'll do up to our max amount that we will do, that we still have those funds, we'll still have those funds available.
Okay, we have a motion from Hecht.
Mr. Gordy, the only thing that I would ask is that you individually approve each loan as opposed to a group, so that you have a documentation on each one that was based upon the criteria that they submitted.
Thanks, Ron. I agree with that too. I'd like to do it individually for each loan if we're going to go that direction.
Okay. We need a motion to approve the application for a $20,000 loan from All Pro Embroidery. We need a motion on that.
You're muted, Justin. Justin, you're mute.
Motion to approve the 20,000 for All Pro.
Okay, we have a motion from Hecht, second from Blair. Roll call.
You're muted.
You're muted.
You're mute also.
You're muted. There you go.
There, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Pakshavinsky,
Yeah.
Black,
No.
Blair. Blair,
She's muted.
Yes.
Grindy,
No.
Heck,
Yes.
Helms,
No.
it's tied.
That's a tie.
Yeah, 3-3 fails.
It fails. Okay. All right. We want to go through each one of these. We need a motion to approve the $1,000 loan to River Cinema.
It's Gregoire Properties is next.
Oh. All right. Gregoire. Okay. There we go. Okay. Get the motion to approve $1,000 loan to Gregoire Enterprises.
Motion to approve 20,000 for Gregoire Properties.
We have a motion by Hecht. Muted. No second.
I'll second.
Okay. Second by Blair. All roll.
Okay, just to be clear, that was a $20,000 loan for them too?
Yes.
Okay. Pakshavinsky,
Yes.
Black,
No.
Blair,
Yes.
Grindy,
No.
Heck,
Yes.
Helms.
No.
You got a tie again.
Okay, motion failed. All right. Motion to approve $20,000 loan to River Cinema.
I'll move to approve 20,000 for River Cinema.
Mr. Hecht, motion by Hecht. Need a second.
I'll second.
Second by Blair. Call roll, please.
Pakshavinsky,
Yeah.
Black,
No.
Blair,
Yes.
Grindy,
No.
Peck,
Yes.
Helms.
No,
Is that a no?
that's a no.
Okay, we got a tie again.
Motion fails. I need a motion to approve the $20,000 loan to Sublime Aesthetic Professionals.
I'll move to approve 20,000 for Sublime Aesthetic.
Motion by Hecht,
Second.
second by Blair. All roll.
Pakshavinsky,
Yes.
Black,
No.
Blair,
Yes.
Grindy,
No.
Peck,
Yes.
Helms.
No,
Failed.
3-3, the motion fails. Well, the suspense is killing me. We need a motion to approve the $18,000 loan request by Waves Float Center.
Which one?
Waves.
I'll move to approve the 18,000 for Waves Float Center.
Motion by Heck,
Second.
call roll.
Pakshavinsky,
Yes.
Black,
No.
Blair,
Yes.
Grindy,
No.
Peck,
Yes.
Helms.
no,
Failed.
Can I make a request on that last loan, Paul, for you?
Yes.
They were asking to install a UV system as possibly a capital improvement. Could you see what that actual cost would be? Because it doesn't say, they say about what it is, but not what it actually is.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
So my question to the EDA is, what do I tell these businesses?
That we voted no right now,
I
and
understand you voted no. They're going to be talking to me, Josh, and I need to know what will make a yes vote as opposed to a no vote. At what point are we going to do something? And every loan that we do for business that's affected today by the coronavirus is going to have risk attached to it. Every loan we do has risk attached to it. What do I tell people?
Tell them we're too risk averse to do anything.
there, yeah.
By a 3-3 vote.
Well, we have one member who's not here, who's not on the call too.
I think, Paul, I guess my thoughts, the reason I voted no is I think we need to, again, revisit this and make sure that we're doing the right thing and doing it the proper way. And as Josh said before, that's where this doing it by computer and phone and everything else just makes it horrible, because you can't have the discussion and you can't do things you'd like to do if we were in person. We could hack it over like we did before. But I think when I'm not against giving these people, we need to help them. There's no doubt about it. I'm not arguing that point a bit. I just want to make sure that we're covering ourselves, because the EDA also has to look good in a business sense to the people out there. We can't just put money out and say, here it is. So we have to look that way too. And so I just want to make sure. And again, like I said, if we can get with Ron, maybe we could get the committee, the approval committee, the loan committee could get with Ron, maybe the four of us, myself and Josh and
I would love that.
Ron, and talk about this and see that we're doing it the right way, and then bring it back and say, this is.
All right. I think that's a good idea. I would recommend the loan committee get together, hash it out, take as much time as it takes. but I don't want to sit at another EDA meeting and talk in circles for an hour and then do nothing. So come back with a recommendation that we can take action to help our businesses out.
I'm just concerned that we're waiting too long. You know, we started these discussions in the beginning of April, and we knew that we needed to do something for businesses as soon as possible. We made a motion that was approved by all of us at our last meeting, and now by the time that we get money into people's hands, are we going to be looking at June, July? Is it going to be too late for some businesses? I understand the risk of that. We have money and we got to look at it as a business decision, but we do things every day on loaning money to businesses in our community to keep them in our community and to let them grow. And that's what our funds are for. We made, a few years past, we completely changed our loan parameters to do low interest money to keep a business in town. We completely changed and gave them hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep that business in town. Now, yes, that was a very important business in our community, but every business is. Every business is important. Now, if we're going to come back with, talking about how are we going to dole this money out again and how do we determine the risk and who do we give what, where are we going to be? Is it going to be July? And some businesses have had no income or hardly any income for 5 months. And where are they going to be? Their doors will be closed. I speak with lots of business owners every single day due to the nature of my business. And I know there's lots of businesses that are extremely hurting right now.
Everybody's is, Justin, right now.
I get that. Everybody is, but there's others that are hurting more than others.
But we got to come up with different parameters just because we said 20,000. Well, automatically everybody's going to apply for 20,000. We never said what the parameters were going to be for less than 20,000.
But we did that. We also did that, so we knew. We talked about it at our last meeting. We knew that we needed to get cash in the hands of these business owners right away. We knew they were going to ask for that. We talked about it. That was my main concern. That's why my motion said that not any and all businesses in town can apply for it, because we knew they're going to ask for it. I mean, that's a given. You give it available, they're going to ask for it. And we made the motion to allow that for any non-essential business that was closed down. We did that.
Okay.
And we had 5 people apply for those loans under that criteria, and we just made them waste a colossal amount of their time, turn around and say, no, we didn't mean it. That's the problem. We had a credibility problem here, too.
Well, I was very concerned about what we were risking, and Paul helped me a great deal when he talked about that it's 10 to 12 apps, and that 10%, we've risked more than 10% of our loans with just in one business. I mean, we've written that off before, and these aren't all going to be written off. I mean, yeah, there could be some that end up not getting paid back. And it helped when Stacy said, that's $350 a month. I hadn't done that math in my head because I don't do math in my head. And I'm going, at $350, that made it much more understandable to me that this is something businesses should be, we're not asking for $1,500 a month. We are $350. And I think we all know that we have been willing to work with businesses if we need to. So I agree we need to be cautious. And I'm walking this line both sides of it, I guess. But Justin is right. We need to get something to these businesses. And so I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't do something today.
All right. Anybody else before we move on?
Well, I'll just make myself available to any time that you want to get together. And just for my 2 cents, after that last meeting, I wasn't understanding myself that the criteria was automatically 20 grand if you ask.
Yeah.
And I just didn't understand it that way, and I figured that's why they were providing us information so that this group could make a determination based upon the information provided to us on what amount was going to be available to assist.
And if the loan committee wants to get together this week, I have no problem to sit down and hash this out, because it's not that I don't disagree with Justin or Blair there. I just want to make sure it's right.
Okay.
I got a question, Mike. Are we able to make a different motion right now on any of the other loan applications and businesses?
Do whatever you want.
I believe that somebody from the prevailing side, which would be the antis, the opposed here, has to ask for reconsideration. of
Well,
that.
actually, Paul, you can't reconsider a motion in the same meeting.
Right.
We can't make a different motion?
No,
Not on the same issue.
no.
Mr. President,
Yes.
is there anything in the rules that says that if we can get together this week, can we call another meeting next week and revisit this?
That was my thought, Dale.
I mean, we don't have to wait for another whole month, do we?
We just have to publish that we're having a special meeting, right, Counselor?
That's correct.
I think
I'd like
that's
to meet more frequently.
I think that's what we do, because I do agree with Justin. They need money in their hands now. I'm not arguing that a bit either. I'm 100% with. It's just that when this whole thing started, we've made it. And again, I want to tell you that Paul done everything by the book, just like he was told to do. But I think we probably. I just want to make sure we didn't overlook something on this whole thing. That was Josh and I's big concern on this when we.
We'll tentatively plan on meeting next Tuesday then.
Can I suggest something, that you take a committee that's composed of some members of the loan committee and others, because there's a difference of opinion, and Justin is presenting one point of view and Josh is presenting a different point of view. We can have, Ron, can we have as many as 3 members of the EDA board on that meeting?
You just can't have a quorum.
Okay. Can I suggest then that a special committee of Josh and Justin and Dale meet with Ron and me to go through this, so we can get, because we present different points of view.
You okay with that, Justin?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
And
I have no problem with it.
Get it done.
either. And I don't want,
That's a great idea.
yeah, and I don't want this for anybody to be, you say, with the committee, I want to make it really.
Okay.
Brenda, is the planning commission meeting on Thursday? What I'd like to try to do, because the meeting room is large, we could do social distancing and see each other face to face in that room,
The training room?
in the training room. Remember, Mike, how you and I talked across?
Yep.
We can spread out in that room so we're not close to each other.
Keep Justin out of the parking lot.
The only thing that I would do is I would confirm with Mr. Murphy whether or not they're going to allow us to do that based upon the guidelines that they've set forth at the City Hall.
We will do that. But, you know, it's been said on several occasions here, it'd be better to talk face to face. Maybe we go outside and sit a mile apart.
Okay.
I would agree. I would love to be face to face too. I just think it's so much easier.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on. We got one more item to deal with.
He never submitted the paperwork to request it. In summary, what he suggested is he has an existing home. He wants to move to a new home in town. He wants to carry his loan with him, his $5,000 loan. I believe it's tied to the property.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can't just carry it from one to the other.
that opens up a whole can of worms with other people that have wanted to do the same thing, and we've denied that. That's my opinion.
Move to deny the request.
Second.
Moved by Blair, second by Black. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Denied. The request is denied.
You could have done a 3 vote on that one too, so we could deny it.
Okay.
So Paul, can we just expect to get an email from you or Brenda on when we want to get together here as quick as we can?
I'm hoping that we can get together at noon on Thursday.
Okay.
As of right now, I'm hoping for noon on Thursday. So make sure we get it locked in sooner than later,
Okay.
please.
All right. Anything?
Justin, are you okay with noon Thursday?
Yep.
Before we go ahead, Ron, can you?
I'm checking.
Okay.
What time?
And Dale, did you say okay at noon on Thursday?
Yes, noon on Thursday is great.
I'll make it work.
Okay. Thank you. Hey, Mr. Helms, would you give us an update on your caravan out to the Capitol?
I really haven't got too much actually to tell you. I mean, they're on their way. They've been picking up buses along the way as they go, and I know they got a pretty good line of buses heading that way. And we're going out there to because we were kind of forgotten in this whole thing with our industry. And so, Justin, just to let you know, I'm one of those guys that's sitting here like those other people with not turning a wheel, not a dime coming in. But I'm sitting here patiently and waiting and hoping that something's going to happen. And I think it will. I think once we do get going, I think it's going to be great. But it's going to take a while. It's not something that's going to happen tomorrow. But our deal out there is going to be just it's more of a awareness, not a protest, just awareness to them so that they know that we're here, and hopefully they'll look at doing something for our industry. But I do know they're on the way out there, and they've been posting on iNews and a couple of the other news channels. They've been on daily doing updates on where they're stopping and who they're visiting and so on and so forth. So. But yeah, it's a kind of an exciting deal for us. It's once in a lifetime, you know, and I would have loved to have went, but it's 6 days of being gone doing nothing. So it's hard to do that. Yeah. So, but it's a good deal. It's good to see our industry. Everybody in our industry came together, and which is good. So,
yeah. All right, I'll take them to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second. Third.
I don't have no idea who said what.
Josh said it. That's fine.
All right, Brenda, make it up. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye.